Welcome to Surviving Show Business, the podcast that takes you inside entertainment to help you survive and thrive with your host, Aaron Seals. Surviving Show Business is sponsored by nycastings.com, the place where stars are born. Actors, models, dancers, and singers can join and get casting notices sent to your phone every day. Hey folks, welcome back to Surviving Show Business. And today's show, we're talking about doing things yourself. Or in this case, we're talking about making your own TV show. And we are talking to BriGuel, the soon-to-be husband and wife team of Queen Bri and Jay Juice. Welcome, gang.
Thank you.
So tell me, well, first of all, tell me, how do we get this BriGuel name?
So we always like to play with life, and in many cases you have the Brennifers and the Brangelinas and et cetera, and we are Brianna Miguel, and our show is also kind of poking fun a little bit at that whole idea of
celebrity
and life in general. So we are BriGuel. Which isn't as attractive as a Brennifer, but...
but that's only because Miguel didn't help the name, you know?
Yeah.
It's too Spanish. Yeah.
Good. And so BriGuel is making a TV show, which is called BriGuel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So tell me, what is this show about?
Very self-centered. Yeah.
What's the show about?
So the show is basically about the artist hustle and struggle in New York City. We, of course, play versions of ourselves, I would say. There is a lot of truth and reality behind what we're doing, but everything is scripted or has been based on something that happened in reality. And it's basically about Brianna Miguel, a pop-hop duo descended from Holocaust survivors who are documenting their journey to become the Jewish Beyonce and Jay-Z. Mm-hmm. And every episode introduces an original song, and all of the quote-unquote characters play themselves, because they're not characters, because they are themselves.
Or heightened versions.
Of themselves. And, basically it's a mishmash of real-life situations that we've gone through as being artists, actors, musicians, producers, etc., in New York City for, I guess, combined almost 2 decades. Mm-hmm. And... also the people that we are working with, whether that's friends of ours who've been in bands for 15 years or friends of ours who have been actors, artists, as far as painters. We have friends who are playing themselves who basically have formed this big, amazing foundation out of Baltimore where they're basically reinventing detention with meditation and yoga. So the idea of the artist goes beyond just your traditional artist per se. It's really just creative, incredible human beings who we like to showcase because they're great.
Yeah. So the show revolves a lot around the music that you guys make together. So that's very interesting. So you're using your skills and building basically a show from your various skills, because you're musicians, actors, you're a comedian,
editors, we are producers, we're musicians.
You threw it all in the mix and said, let's make a show about that.
Yeah.
And
we combined all the skills, and that's what came out of it. And
we purposefully... Sorry, you want to...
No, I was going to say it's been just a process, because we started, of course, with the direction, production, acting, with the music, and we started working with editors, but then as soon as we initiated the process, we realized that it was better if we did it ourselves also, because only we knew what was the right timing for every joke and for every situation. And if you really want something to represent who you are, you gotta do it yourself.
Yeah. Even though that's not the most fun at times.
They say do what you know, and so that's what you guys are doing.
Of course, we're limited. There's people that have put 10 years onto learning some skill, and we can always use that experience and that set of skills, you know. But yeah, we try to, as much as we can, bring our input.
So how did this idea really come about? Who said, let's make a TV show?
That was Brian.
That was all me.
I was chilling at home.
And what brought you to that decision to do this?
So Miguel and I met through working on a short film where I
was looking for an actress. I was producing a short film in that moment, and I saw a trailer of a movie that she had produced, and she starred Bad Vegan in the teleportation machine. Very good stuff. And so when I saw that, I was impressed, and I asked her to be in the short film, but there was a nudity scene, and she told me that she doesn't do nudity. Therefore, she told me she will help me produce, and we've been working ever since. And at that time, I was also producing an album, and I asked her if she could be part of it because she has a beautiful voice, and I was completely in love. So I was like, "You want to be?" That was my way of flirting.
Just giving.
No, I'm
It was
kidding.
like a reverse casting couch kind of situation. He was just throwing jobs at me,
Yeah.
It was the opposite.
And
But,
so there was a great connection since the beginning, and the music was great. And she had a vision after that, I guess.
yeah, I guess it was, we were joking like, oh, we're like the Jewish Beyonce and Jay-Z. And of course, the Jewish part is just because that's our history and that's what we know and that's where we come from. But Beyonce and Jay-Z just in the sense that I sing and Miguel raps and we're a couple.
Yeah, I don't necessarily, I think Jay-Z is great. It's not a reference to me,
Our
I
styles
just
are
rather
different.
I just rather be a J, like a Jay-Z or J. Cole or J.
Giuseppe.
J. Juice, rather than a Lil Pump or Lil whatever, Lil Bitch.
You'd rather go with the J rather
Yeah,
than the
the J,
Lil?
the J's are better than the Lils somehow.
I agree.
So I'm gonna stay as a J. Also, all the drug dealers in New York are J's, so that's also something to keep in.
Okay, so once the idea caught on, you both agreed to it. How did you start the writing process?
So a lot of the writing process came based on reality and based on things that had already happened or situations. Or, for example, in our first episode, we have an actual show, which is a real show that we played. And we just built some semi-fictional and, in some cases, completely real scenes around what we had done and recreated it. And even the filming of the entire show was done, very bare bones with a couple of friends, very small crew, which we actually really prefer to a large crew. There's definitely a warmth and a nice vibe if you're working with 10 people or 6 people versus working with 100 people. I know that was one of the really nice turning points in my career as an artist was like being on the biggest set where I thought it was going to be the most amazing experience, 600 people, and it was not very fun. Yeah, it was crazy. It was a lot of stress and a lot of miscommunication and craziness. And I was like, wow, I actually miss doing some of these, 6 of us pile into a friend's car with a camera and some lights and go make something from our hearts where we're all completely invested and passionate about it. Of course, it's great to also have bigger budgets, but I guess we like to
The thing with the writing,
skirt the line.
The thing with the writing was also that we were trying to keep it very low, the budget, trying to make something that made sense and that we don't have to spend too much money. And the idea is that we, as a couple, we hired this crew to follow us everywhere, so everything has to look kind of cheapish, and
It has a Spinal Tap feel. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely has
My
a
favorite movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome!
Everyone's,
Thanks.
yeah.
So we're definitely playing with that, where you see
We're-
the boom drop in, and you see the lighting, and as a matter of fact, our DP plays himself as well, and there are people behind the camera and behind the scenes that are very much themselves, and then there are moments where something that was really happening ended up being a scene because it was so funny, but it wasn't something that we had written in as a scene. So it's really open reign in that sense.
And it's also relative because many times like we write things and then somehow they happen, and like we were thinking about the idea of we were in Israel for one of the episodes, and then we get lost and we get kicked out in the middle of the desert by a taxi cab driver, and then it actually happened in real life that we were there and our rental car almost explodes, the tire exploded, so we were in the middle of the desert, and we were like, jokes on us because we wrote it, so all these things that we keep writing and then somehow they happen.
Yeah, it's either that we write it and they happen, or they've happened and
then
then
we
we rewrite it.
And then we
so it's a
recreate
really
it.
nice life kind of laughing at us a little bit, the universe showing it in our face. And yeah, I hope that answered your question of our writing process. I don't know.
It sure did. You guys are currently filming these episodes right now. How many of you have filmed so far?
We've filmed 3 thus far. They're all about 20 to 25 minutes. And we've written the season. Of course, there's always flexibility and leniency because so much of it is based on real people and real situations. So we always, sometimes, for example, we have a new dog trainer that we're working with. And we're like, oh, he is such a character and he is so funny as himself. We need to have this character written in. So it's the kind of thing where we're also going along and finding more interesting humans.
There's always
really.
space for good story,
Yeah.
and good characters.
Nice. Is this non-union, union?
So I'm.
She's the only union. No?
Yeah, I'm the only union at this point. We'll see. It may end up being union. As far as who we're working with, crew-wise, it's been non-union. But again, our crew has been, I think at most we had 10 people on set aside from us. So
what's your
really
budget
small.
for this project?
Very, very small.
Did you do any fundraising, or how did you fund it?
So we
Or
both.
how are you funding it?
Well, we both have production companies, and we both work other jobs that allow us to supplement our love of life, which is making things. So either we work, recently, for example, we took a production job where we line produced a short film pilot presentation, and from that paid for our music video. So, we do the typical artist juggle hustle. And I think that's also where a lot of the spirit of the show comes in, because something that's important for us is not just showcasing us and our, I guess, versions of ourselves that were a few years ago, just like so focused on it has to be this way and we have to get famous and we have to do X, Y, and Z. And then we realize that actually that doesn't mean anything, and that's not what it's about. It's about the journey, and it's about all these other people who are there along the way. In some cases, they've become famous and they're like, you know what? Trust me, you don't want to be famous. You'd rather be just loving what you're doing and enjoying the process. And then in other cases, it's about our friends who've been doing it for 15 years and they're still, trying to get to that point where they can say, okay, I feel good about the 15 years that I've given to this love of mine. So, it's definitely been, a really nice juggle, hustle, amalgamation of things. But it is really about that also, like not just us, but the artists in general, and the experience in showing the underlying message, which is, just have fun and be the celebrity of your life and do what you love. And if you really love it, really go for it. But don't allow other ideas of what you think it should be predicate how you are or what you're creating. Just create and be grateful that we can create. And, we live in this amazing city and fantastic circumstances that we can do what we love and keep doing it. So
and try to spread a good
positive
message with what you
yeah.
have.
I mean, we don't sing about handbags and booties. Sorry, not really our jam. But, more about, I don't know, the depression I went through 10 years ago or whatever it is. Being honest also is as we like to be.
Now, you guys are doing some interesting marketing as you're doing this, and in fact, you released a music video last week, which is called "Love." Very catchy tune.
Thank you.
How is this music video playing into the marketing of what you're trying to do with the show?
So the concept is that every episode introduces an original song, and in the episode you see kind of the raw version of the song, or you see some kind of progression. For example, in episode 3 we have a staged reading for Rupert Holmes, and he has challenged us to put together a staged reading for Hammerstein, the Jewish Hamilton, within 1 week. And so you see the song in a very, very bare bones version in the episode, but then at the end of the episode, the idea is that you get this music video, studio production version of the song. So Love is actually our song for episode 4, and
It was going to be originally for
episode 6,
it doesn't
but then
matter
we
'cause
moved it to
it
episode
hasn't
4.
been shot yet, so,
And the concept is that, for right now, while we're talking to people and figuring out the future of the show and where it's going to land as far as a home and how it's going to live in the world, we wanted to start putting our work out there, because at this point it's been a lot of time of incubating and creating, and now it's time to start sharing some of it with the world. So we decided to, in these next couple of weeks and months, we'll be launching every 3 weeks one of the music videos for essentially for the episodes, but we'll probably end up by that point making even more music. So
Cool. Let's listen to this song right now so we get a taste of what you guys are really like. Here we go.
Yeah.
Looking around, so much magic, oh no questioning, feeling so good, so what happens, cosmic synergy.
When a clown finds a clown, it all comes around. The king and the queen are ready for the crown. Dime que nos queda, aparte de amor, intentar demostrar que estás preparado para más, mirando alrededor, con miedo a preguntar, tarareando la misma canción en el mismo lugar, con la misma pasión, sabiendo que todo llega. Like everybody's trying to find some kind of affection, protection, a master connection to make sure the sake of the nature is nurtured, to avoid the void, upset with the concept, cause you can't accept that you're worth it. Don't force it, forget the nonsense, love yourself, no other purpose, open the gate to love in abundance, dance to the beat to defeat the fear, make it disappear, idyllic idea that we are part of a whole and we have at the house that we have to find every time that we come back here.
No need to wonder, time to discover for one another. Love, we got to give love, we got to feel love. When will it be love? No need to wonder, time to discover for one another. Love, we got to give love, we got to feel love. When will it be? Looking around, where's the magic? You've been questioning, go back and forth. So what happens? Cosmic travesty.
When it comes to love, I know about it, no shrugs. On a high level, you could say I move like drugs. The beginning, every X fits like a glove. And the end is when you drag each other through the mud. What happened to the love? 30-second hugs, bubble bathroom tugs, Michelin star grubs. No one gives a up, can't even get a hug. No more puppy love, now who keeps the pug? Can't believe this is what it came to. Was obsessed with the opposite sex, how could I blame you? I'm sorry. Did my dirt in plain view, permitted you to wear the same shoe, walked ashamed of you, mentally drained you. We never had the same view, now I see I really didn't love you.
Sometimes I wonder, will we discover for one another? Love, we got to give love, we got to feel love. When will it be love? No need to wonder, time to discover for one another. Love, we got to give love, we got to feel love. When will it be? We live forever through space, time, and letters. It's getting better, oh, it's getting better. We love forever through space, time, and letters. It's getting better, it's getting better. We live forever through space, time, and letters. It's getting better, oh, it's getting better. We love forever through space, time, and letters. It's getting better, it's getting better.
Cool.
Thank you.
Love it.
Thank you.
Who was involved in the making of this song?
That would be us
And Michael Hilowitz,
and Michael Hilowitz.
our dear friend and also partner producer.
Yeah, we write the music with him. He's a super talented drummer. He plays guitar. He's a Berklee School of Music kid. And then, of course, Terrence Klept from he was in Junior Mafia a wee bit ago, and this is he's back. So
After
welcome.
like 12, 15 years.
15,
yeah.
I think, years. Yeah,
Very cool. Did you guys record this at your place?
we did.
Since you guys live together, you're
We
making music
recorded
all the
that,
time.
But
We recorded this
but
at
his
home.
verse, I think, didn't we record that at the studio in Bunker, maybe?
Well, the drums we tracked at the bunker.
No, but Terrence.
and Terrence's
Yeah.
Terrence's verse we did there.
Most
But
of the
our
time we
stuff is
work at home, but yeah, I think his verse was recorded in the Bunker Studios in Brooklyn.
But you were saying, sorry about that. That we live at home and we're constantly.
Yeah, you guys do just everything.
We have a
at
great
your
setup.
place,
We're
and
very
You're in control of everything, which
Yeah.
is really neat.
luckily.
Thank you. Yeah, sometimes it's a little daunting because you're like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Am I really taking on all of this? But like you said before, it's a matter of taking everything into our own hands and really being the captains of our project, and who better to be than us.
Yeah,
You know?
I found that's where you get the most joy.
Yeah.
Totally.
And you can definitely work on your own style and make sure it's all yourself, and you don't need to follow anyone's tastes, you know.
And
It's you.
grow. I mean, one of the things that I appreciate about my long career at this point in as a professional actress is that I'm no longer just an actress. Now I'm a writer and I'm a producer and I can edit and I can sing and I can play guitar and I've done stand-up comedy and the list continues and not only am I
Art director. No.
I art direct now also. Yeah, it's just keep adding things into the arsenal,
Keep
so
learning,
to speak,
yeah.
and growing and learning, and what better, situation to be in as
Just
an
be open
artist.
to do everything, because most of the times what happens is that you want to make sure everything is well done, and so you work with certain people, but then as you keep going you realize that you can also do certain things, to make it more yourself, make sure that everything is more in line with your thoughts, and you cannot complain that somebody else did something wrong because you did it.
Yeah.
I think it's important
Full
also.
responsibility.
Yeah.
That's great. Like, the more skills you have under your belt, the more you can utilize that.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
It ends up saving you tons of money in this case.
Yeah.
Totally.
And then you get, of course, better control over the final product, which is, I find when I'm in groups of people doing a project, there's a lot of back and forthing, and I don't like this, and I hate that, and I hate you, and
I didn't tell you, but I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I really hate you.
Yeah.
and,
It happens. It happens.
it cuts through a lot of that stuff.
We're lucky in that sense because most of the time, we share the same thoughts and we going into the same direction. So we're very lucky in that sense that we know how to work with each other, and we have a very similar perspective for many of the
And where one of us falters, the other is strong. And then that also inspires us to keep growing and keep learning. And like, I 2 years ago did not know anything about editing or directing, and Miguel has definitely helped me with that. And,
and I needed
yeah.
to organize my life, so that was very helpful. That was very handy. Yeah.
How do you guys learn these skills, or how do you get better at them?
Through trauma, I don't know.
Yeah. I think through practice, like anything else, like if you had told me 10 years ago that I would be able to single-handedly line produce someone's film, I would be like, you're joking. I have no idea. That's gibberish to me. You may as well be speaking Chinese. But now I can do that in my sleep, So I think it's, or any of the paperwork or the legal, bureaucratic, etc., or playing guitar for that matter. I mean, it was getting a book and learning where your hand goes on it, and then just putting some time into it rather than peddling about my.
You jump on it and you try not to be ashamed of how bad you are at the beginning, and go through
that membrane.
And
oh my goodness,
you just need to be
awful.
brave, I guess, to just not give a shit about how it's gonna be, because eventually, not always, but you might figure it out. And that's when it starts to be fun. It's funny because many times I forget about it, and when I started rapping, I was awful, but I never think about it now because it's like, now it's pretty good. But you needed 20 years of just writing, and you just need to go for it and don't think too much about it.
And keep investing in yourself, I think. We're constantly looking for these answers outside of ourselves, but most of the time, like we were just saying, it comes back to you. And so I know that as far as like doing stand-up comedy and writing and taking UCB courses and the Pit and whatever it was for that. And like now, I'm not doing improv comedy like I was doing, but I have that ability to say, okay, there's a technique here as to how to write this joke, and I know that because of that experience. So just continuing to grow and put in the time and the work and the focus. And
What was your stand-up act like?
my stand-up act was kind of like, similar to Andy Kaufman and Robin Williams, more so than like a straight stand-up. I constantly told jokes through characters. I do a lot of voices and a lot of different characters, and that's also when I started making my own work. I relied heavily on that. I did a one-woman show and played 11 different characters live, no changing of costume or anything like that. And I had introduced them through video, so you saw what they looked like prior to me then becoming one of them or something like that. So that was always fun.
Do some of your voices and characters.
I mean, I could do the one that Miguel really doesn't like. He really doesn't like this girl. I think she's hilarious. I think that she's like one of my favorite. This is like my girl Lucia. And when I first started rapping, I wasn't singing. I was rapping for her. But then I snapped. And then, of course, there's like a lot of different British kind of girls that I do and things like that. Like, really, I've got a character similar, of course, like the goddess Amy Winehouse. I'm not saying I'm like her, but I'm saying like this is inspired by her. And then, I mean, I got a bunch of different kind of guys and things like that. There's definitely, I haven't done this guy in a while. That's why it's having a little bit trouble coming through. But New York, obviously, I'm from New York, so obviously I can do any kind of New York anything, especially with certain kind of dialects, too. If you're like, do a Jewish lady from Long Island, I mean, this would probably be her. She started a little bit Queens earlier, a few seconds ago, and now she moved. Yeah, she's on the island now. So that's some of them. I could keep going.
Awesome. So many different kinds of talents are intertwined into this. That's why it's so interesting to me. Tell me more about the music video. You released the music video last week, and you're doing certain things to market that, which in turn markets the show. Tell me about what you have been doing to get the word out about that.
So as far as getting it out, I mean, there's a lot of like grassroots, putting it out there on all the different social channels. We launched all of our different social channels just about a little over a month ago, just to start, creating awareness and having a platform where we can put all the different work. As far as the music videos, we're both blessed and cursed because we have been creating so much of our own work over the past few years.
Jewish, but no. That's it. No.
I mean, you could debate that, you could, but we know how to make something look really good for no money, and usually that also entails us taking on like 10 different positions, but we don't necessarily know how. Not that we don't know how. We prefer to make everything that we make to a certain standard and have a certain shine and polish, and it's our work, so we take that sincerely. And I know that we're in an era of whereas that I won't say that doesn't matter, but there's definitely a turn away from that idea of things needing to have a certain caliber and cleanness
it's
to
very,
it.
Yeah, it's very
but
different
we prefer it that way. It's like we really love what we do, and therefore we care, and we're passionate about having it a certain way. So as far as this music video, it was two guys.
We had
3 guys.
Originally,
3 guys
it was
and
also
us.
that we had the studio space and that we were gonna use.
We had a studio
so we
space
had the
for free,
idea of how did that even come?
Well,
no,
basically-
the original idea was that you saw Mike's and I
dancing.
dancing.
And I was like, that's our music video. That's all we got to do. We just got to interpret what we feel the song makes us feel in different dance styles. And that's how we got that. But I guess as far as putting the word out there, it's just making sure that we feel good about what we're creating and putting out into the world, and then just pushing working with Throwing it everywhere.
Vanya and with Andrew and with Marisa to push this whole thing, because that's their expertise. They're connecting us with different people, different avenues, and it's all a whole. Like not so long ago, I closed my Facebook because I was tired of it, and then all of a sudden I need it more than ever. So it's like, okay, I assume the cosmical joke. But we need that direction, when you don't really know when you don't really like to, how do you say it, to speak so much about your work, and you rather you show it, but you need to talk to people in order to show it, and that's where they come in.
We're inextricably linked with our work. So.
Now that's interesting. You hired a PR person to help you in this pursuit to get the word out.
Yes.
Marissa, who is here right now. How do you work with her? How do you guys...
We had a session. We all sat down and spoke about...
why we're doing this, and the reason behind why, why us, and why these songs, and why this show, and why what we're creating.
What are we trying to achieve?
And understanding really the underlying core values and ideas behind why are we doing this? Like, why us versus how many millions of incredibly talented actors, musicians, filmmakers, etc. And for us, that's really just about, we love what we do, and we can't imagine doing anything else. But I think more importantly for us, it's about putting a different kind of message into the world, a positive message, even though that sounds so scary these days. No one wants happiness and love, but we do. So, just making life a little bit happier and lighter and funnier, and if we can make fun of ourselves in the process, all the better. And who better to make fun of ourselves than ourselves? And to say, how we're seeing the world, and the fact that right now we're in some tense times. So why not laugh a little bit and feel a little better, and be able to turn to something that provides that feeling rather than some of the other feelings that are out there right now.
Well, it's working. I saw you guys on the news.
Thanks.
How did that come about, and why did they want to talk to you?
They wanted to talk to us initially because of the story of our relatives. Miguel and I both come from Auschwitz and Dachau.
I don't come from there,
survivors.
but we are connected.
Well, our descendants, our grandparents, and in Miguel's case, his father survived the Holocaust. So we have a very unique personality, I would say, and history. Which, even though Miguel grew up in Spain,
we're carrying all the trauma. No.
Yeah, we've got a lot of trauma, and I'd say hardship, so to speak, but also obviously a lot of strength and a lot of, in both of our cases, some of our grandparents and, in Miguel's case, father, were very positive, and in another case, they were very negative, understandably so. So we have this interesting fusion also of literally coming from nothing and having to just climb and grow your way to find your way. So with that being said, we also feel like we have a purpose and a position where we have to take that energy and like that sorrow and sadness and trauma, not just because of the Jewish people, but because of humanity at large and what humanity experienced, and kind of alchemize it and say, like, look, this was a absolutely awful, horrendous thing, but let's
not go back there again. No?
Yeah, and also we can see it in a funny way, and how can we, rather than being sad about it, really transform the energy for something positive and something that we can learn from and something that we can grow. And, we definitely toe the line. I mean, we're edgy. There's definitely no two ways about that. But that's definitely something that we feel like is very pertinent for the times we're living in right now. I can't tell you how many times I meet with people and they talk about what's going on, rightfully so, but there's a lot of despair and there's a lot of anxiety and worry, rather than finding the lightness and transformation of, okay, how do we take that and how do we now move on and make it better for all?
Okay, and so the news channel, they had an interest in the Holocaust story, but then you intertwine that into the show, and so you're getting a lot of free press about the show.
Yeah.
Because it's all interweaved, because it's your life.
Yeah, and I think the thing that we appreciate about that is truth. And like coming from a place of just like, this is the way that it is, even if it's not the most popular conversation starter.
Everybody likes a good joke. No,
you were gonna say everyone likes a good Holocaust joke?
Yeah.
Is that where you're gonna go with?
I was going.
I mean, yeah, we could look. If we can't laugh about things, then what? Are we all going to be angry and sad and worried and anxious the whole time? Like, why not? Why not find, not to take away from the severity of it, no, but to transform it for ourselves, which I think is life, right? Like, we can see life from a positive or negative perspective constantly, no matter what the circumstance. So, how much are we living in one or the other? I think is really the question we're posing.
Good. So, okay, so a lot of people want to have ideas. They're like, I want to make my own TV show. I've got a really interesting life. What advice would you give that person? What step-by-step advice would you give them?
I mean, first of all, it always depends on what is the idea and how easy or difficult is it to accomplish. Because if you want to make a show like Game of Thrones and you have written an amazing script, it doesn't matter because you still don't have $10 million per episode, So it's all, I think, at the beginning in the writing, and make sure you have a good story and cool characters, and it's easy to achieve, like shooting, like doing something crazy. Or you're surrounded by amazing technicians and people that know their craft, and they can make it happen and look expensive, even though, even without a great budget, So everything is possible as long as you make sense and you know how to do it.
And I would say keep going. I mean, Ricky Gervais is one of our favorite examples of it wasn't until he was 40, after he experienced The Office, that he wrote and created The Office. And now I think we can all agree that he's one of the greatest comedians on the planet, So I know as an actress, when I was in my early 20s, it was this whole like anxiety of like, oh my God, I haven't made it and I'm 23 and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, who cares? I have so much more life experience now. And if Ricky Gervais can do it in his 40s, or there are so many other examples, Kathy Bates, Morgan Freeman, Samuel L. Jackson, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's really, everybody has their own journey. And if it's something that you really believe in, then be sincere about it and put the time in, and don't just go make it, obviously. I mean, go make it and go for it. But I mean, be a little bit more organized with yourself, that like you have a structure and you have a solid foundation for making it, because Miguel and I can tell you it's hours and hours and hours of everything. So
let's take that go make it idea and break it down.
Yeah.
Let's say they've gotten as far as they've written it.
Yeah.
They've written a season. How do they go about producing it?
So it's obviously a matter of if they want to produce it themselves. There are numerous ways these days as far as crowdfunding and ways that you can raise money. There are places that will give you grants as well. There are certain even tax breaks within New York State itself where you can get 30 to 35% of your production budget back, which is amazing with New York State. They're really helpful also at that office. Thank you very much, New York State Film Association. But I would say either if you're going to do it that way, or align yourself with people that can be part of like your family of making this, so to speak, and people that believe in it yourself. And of course, be careful. There are lots of people out there who often are.
It's very important to have a team.
Word.
It's very difficult to make everything by yourself, even though many times it's what you want. But what can you really get alone? You need to create a thing, be out there and meet people and make sure that you can work with other people, because otherwise it's very difficult to do it just by yourself. I think it's crucial to be part of some kind of team.
Yeah, fine. So I guess to answer your question a little bit more tightly, it's find good people that you can either collaborate with or crowdfund and raise the money yourself. And I mean, ultimately you will need people that you're going to be working with. You can't run every single position by yourself.
What if I don't know how much it's going to cost?
If you don't know how much it's going to cost, then I would say speak to some people. It's advice is free, right? And if you have even one person who may or may not have some insight into it, have the conversation. Go have coffee for the 45 minutes that it's going to be. Every single meeting that we've had, we've learned something, and we've had many meetings.
And you also have to understand, like realistically, if you don't have a good sound or a good camera, but you can do it with the phone or whatever. We've had meetings with people that really had no idea and they wanted to make something happen, but you need to understand that it's very difficult, that it's not that easy to just make a show, shoot, you have to understand what it implies and how much sacrifice and time or money or, connections and favors that you need.
Gray hair.
You need to be willing to really sacrifice a lot. And that's, I think, the most important thing to start with, because nothing is going to be easy, and you need to know that you need to love it and make sure.
But then, for example, and this is something that we're right now involved in, is there are also festivals out there that are even, open to, for $15, you can submit your pitch, which is literally your elevator pitch, your 21 to 27 word version of your show. And that's all you need. So there are, even though it is difficult to self-produce it like we've done, there are also other avenues and routes to take that you can produce it yourself. And it's not as extensive, but at the same time, we've had these meetings where we've spoken to some bigger production companies and people that we're conversing with, but they're talking about a 5-year development. Well, it's a lot of hours, and a lot of years literally off of your life. So I guess to both of our points, it's go for it, but know that it's not rainbows and butterflies necessarily or along the way. But if you believe in it and you love it, then you can make anything happen. I mean, that's life, right? So
yeah. Okay, so you guys have come a long way with it now, and you're you've talked to people about putting it on air. So you're shopping it right now as you're making it. What have you learned from that so far?
Every person you will meet with will have a different opinion.
Okay.
And the good news for us that we're at least relieved about is we're getting very positive feedback. But there are certain ways that some of these businesses and productions companies and et cetera, networks think that is, I guess, different from an artist point of view. You know, as artists, we just want to create and make and have our word. But for them, it's about like, all right, which demographic does this fit? What is your audience? Why is this your audience? What is the age bracket? Where do you think this would do well, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I would definitely keep that in mind also.
How do you even get those meetings? Are you just calling them on the phone,
Yeah,
or do you
I mean,
have a
in some
person that
cases,
you hire?
Personal connections.
It's
and-
like this person put us. I mean, we are literally on the rabbit hole of meetings. You know, where it's like we meet with one person. Okay, I like you. You need to go meet with this person. We go meet with that person. He's like, I like you. You need to go meet with this person. We go meet with her. She's like, you're great. You need to meet with these 3 people. So in the past few months, we've been back and forth to LA.
What
like
we have learned
4 or
also
5
is
times.
that it's all about, nowadays at least, it's all about the following that you have.
Also.
And all these meetings are great, but at the end, what speaks are the numbers, and you need to create your own following like everyone else. 10 years ago or 20 years ago, it was a little bit different. Nowadays, everyone is a writer, everyone is an artist, everyone is a singer, everyone is an actor, everyone has a phone where they can record stuff. So now it's more, as difficult as ever. There's so
or
much.
it's easy. It's however you want to see it.
Difficult and easy in both cases, but it's inundated now with content and people doing it. So you need to make sure you have something strong and you just keep shooting and throwing it and pushing it everywhere because everyone is doing it. But you need to just count on yourself. Nowadays, everyone is doing it. So you need to make sure whatever you're doing is good and has something special that interests people.
Cool. Is there anything else you guys want to cover? What have we missed?
What have we missed? Yeah. We would like to talk about definitely is the next music video that we're gonna be releasing in.
Oh yeah.
In
Yeah.
the next
More
few
marketing.
weeks.
More marketing.
Yeah, it's always good to push it.
Yeah.
It's completely different in this case. The first song was Love, and it was a very happy and upbeat song. The next song, it's called Breathe, and as like all of the songs, they are actually advice for ourselves. And in this case, it's a very much darker song.
It's about both of our respective
Journeys,
periods and journeys of dealing with different forms of addiction or mental health and substance abuse, and basically knowing that, like, also making your own show, you have to be honest with yourself and you have to get yourself to a place of strength and integrity and centeredness, so to speak, before you can go out and either do your show or find the love of your life or continue to do your thing. There, of course, you can do it without that, but I think that it's definitely I don't know if easier is the word, but things flow better when you're in your mojo, let's say, and just being loving and kind to yourself so that you could then be a positive figure for others as well.
It's I wouldn't call it 180 degrees, like we're taking another direction with this song,
Yeah,
but
it's very different.
It's another story, and somebody said like it shows a little bit the range of different kind of content that we can create. It's more of a short film in this case, not so much of a jokey with graphic.
Yeah, it's not like a cool, weird, funny.
It's very
video.
different. We're very happy with it. We're very proud and excited to start moving it around because I think it has a very important message, and we're all about that, about showing everyone that we are all going through shit. Everybody is hurt. Everybody is suffering inside. So we need to understand each other and accept how we are and who we are. And just try to overcome always your darkness because everybody has it.
I really like that idea where you have each episode of the show is intertwined with a song.
Thanks.
And so when do you're going to make another video for that? When do you think that'll happen?
So we shot the video. Again, it was us and 3 guys. And it will come out, we're aiming for the middle of September. So September 18th is our goal right now. And, life So we'll see if we hit that.
So
date.
that gets done, then you market that video, and you keep talking about the show. When do you think the show will be? When do you think you'll film the entire season?
Well, that again, it's very relative, and we are in the middle of a few conversations with different companies to see where it's going to end up. So we're very much in a position right now of we're either going to get this support or otherwise we will have to start a Kickstarter or something like that soon enough and shoot the rest because we believe it's important to do this show and the message that is going to come with it, and we know that once it's done, everybody is going to be interested to distribute.
So I would say within the next few months we would know.
Cool.
This month and early next month we have some important meetings and conversations where we were told we would have answers. So let's see if that's really the case or not.
Cool. Where can people go to read more about you or see more about you?
Sure, you can go to BriGuel.com. That's BRIGUEL.com. Also, We Are BriGuel on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. On SoundCloud as well is just BriGuel. And on YouTube, it's the BriGuel, not the BriGuel Show, but BriGuel Show. So, hitting all those channels.
Great.
And Spotify as well.
Great.
And iTunes.
I've learned a lot here.
Oh, thank you.
That should do it.
Awesome.
Everybody should go look up these guys. They're really interesting people, and I hope this show gets made.
Thank you. We really appreciate you having us.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Oh.
That's all, folks. Surviving Show Business is sponsored by nycastings.com, the place where stars are born. Actors, models, dancers, and singers can join and get casting notices sent to your phone every day.